One thing, let me just make sure I have the view set up correctly. Always have problems with these view things, and then when I put it on, it doesn't look the way that I want it to look. Okay, I think I got it. Okay, cool. All righty. So we're going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi, everybody. This is Anne Marie, the anti-HR HR lady, and this is the anti-HR channel. And on this channel, I talk about employee workplace rights, and I try to provide information to employees to protect their workplace rights and to understand their workplace rights so that they know what to do if their rights are violated. And especially now, this information is very, very important. As I've said before, I discuss all these things through the lens of being a Black woman because that's what I am. And I try to share this information to help all employees, but especially Black employees and specifically Black women, understand how to navigate their work environments, especially in the United States of America. So today on our channel, we are going to talk to Dr. Kimani Norrington-Sands about 5 things that you can do right now to protect yourself uh, in a hostile, toxic job. And I wanted to have Dr. Norrington-Sands on today because the reality is that the things that are going on now in the news are really having a negative impact on people's mental health. And I really want us to have some steps that we intentionally take to protect ourselves. And so I asked Kimani to come on and talk about this a little bit with me. If you're not aware, Kimani and I have collaborated in the past. We put a master course out together called Save Yourself, which was created and designed to help Black women who are employees in hostile, toxic jobs navigate those jobs and exit those jobs with their mental health intact, as well as walking away with some coins if appropriate. So we want to talk today a little bit about what are 5 things that you can do to start your exit from a toxic job, actually. And the first one, Kimani, that I'm thinking is we need to be informed, but not overly consumed. And I think a
Okay.
way to do that is to very intentionally limit how much social media we're consuming
Mm-hmm.
because there's just so much coming at people day after day after day after day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an overwhelm approach. And they said that this was what they were going to do,
That's their
that
tactic.
it was going to be chaos and that it was going to be, what was that term that they used when we attacked, when we went into the Iran, the war? They basically used that same kind of term when they were talking about what their first 100 days were going to be like. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's important for us to understand that this approach is intentional,
Oh,
this day
absolutely.
after day after day. So, as a mental health
Absolutely.
professional, can you talk a little bit about why it's important for people to kind of intentionally limit how much of this stuff they consume right now?
Yeah, well, that's very important that I'm going to respond to. And first, I want to say thank you, Anne Marie, for inviting me to be on your channel. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Kimani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist with over 20 years of experience. I'm also a toxic job survivor and a toxic job liberator. So we're going to go through these things. I want to say, in terms of the overconsumption, is very important. We have to recognize that this is a distraction technique, and we have to be mindful of not taking the bait. So every week is something different. And then when we do that, it creates a sense of being helpless and hopeless. And when you're helpless and hopeless, then you start sitting in anxiety, like I'm just going to just freeze because you're in survival mode. And so we have to recognize this is a tactic, number one. Number two, we have to take active control. We can't be passive and say, I'm just going to sit this out. What are we actively doing to really protect our mental health? So, one thing is psychological armoring. So, psychologically, what do you do to kind of block out or limit the amount of toxicity that you're ingesting? So, social media, be mindful of that. Even who you're talking to. If they're talking all about the gloom and doom and all the, limit your contact with them, limit what you share with them. Focus on what you can control in your life. Because when you start thinking about, oh my God, what could happen? Yes, be prepared, start planning. That's why you get some information, but don't get overly consumed by that. So we have to find ways of checking in with ourselves to see, okay, how am I feeling right now? What's contributing to why I'm feeling this way? And what do I have control over in my life so I don't fall into this helpless, hopeless kind of thing? And what do we actively do? So this is going to be a daily thing, daily. Don't resist, don't go into the bait because they're trying to bait you. Don't get distracted. And what are you actively doing to preserve your mental health in terms of psychological armoring?
I can share one thing that I'm actually doing, which is
Mhm.
I have stopped sleeping with my cell phone next to me. So that when I wake up, it's not right there for me to pick up. One of the
Yeah,
things that I've really like intentionally, because I don't want to turn on that stuff and consume it the first thing in the morning, right?
no,
So
yeah,
I'm really like intentionally not checking social media and not checking even my emails
yeah,
before I have my cup of coffee and get up
yeah.
and move around. And so
Ground yourself.
that's one thing. And the other thing is that I have literally given myself a day on Saturdays generally where I am not looking at social media at all. Right.
Good.
If I watch YouTube, it's style and travel content, happy stuff, stuff I love and enjoy.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And no political stuff. I've basically like I have a channel that I watch on YouTube. I have like literally blocked all the American news, like all news media, so that if I want to look for something, I can, but it
yeah,
doesn't pop up in my feed. And if they
yeah,
suggest something, I tell them I'm not interested. I don't want it
yeah,
in my feed so that
yeah,
I have control over how much of this stuff that I'm looking at because it just can really bombard your senses. And
yeah,
that's the intention. Shock and awe. That's the
yeah. And you feel unsafe,
expression
and you feel
that they
unsafe, and
use.
so then you freeze. You freeze in your environment. And I want to add too, please don't look at the news or social media right before you go to bed, because then
Yes.
that stuff is going to brain
That's the next
subconsciously,
thing.
unconsciously all night. And then you
Yes.
wake up exhausted.
Yeah. Watch things, either watch things that make you happy
Mhm.
or listen to some music.
Yes.
But don't consume that stuff before you go to bed. So that's like I said, I like to watch travel content and style content before I go to
Yeah.
bed. That's what
Yeah.
I watch now. If I'm
I
gonna watch
watch I watch funny animal videos.
right.
They just make
Because
me
I'm
laugh. They're
like,
like,
that stuff, it's just not good for our senses, right?
yes.
So, and this is something we can control. So the second thing is, which kind of builds on this, is to really intentionally guard your mental health. Because this is
Mhm.
not just about social media, right? As you said, it's not just about social media, it's also about what you talk about with people, what you allow people to like. There are people that like to send these videos and send different things. I've already like nipped all of that in the bud with the people in my life, right? Because I believe in
Boundaries.
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 Boundaries, because
Yes.
y'all know I believe in boundaries. So nobody sends me any of that crazy stuff because they know that they might get blocked, right? But we have to guard our mental health. And so, in addition to limiting social media, as you said, what are other things, especially if you're in a toxic work environment, a hostile, toxic job, what are
Mhm.
things that you can do to intentionally guard your mental health, even when you are going into environments that are hostile and toxic?
Right. Number one, like I said before, check in with yourself daily. Identify what are the things contributing to why you are feeling that way. Be mindful of what I call the anxiety igniters. So, what are the things that ignite your anxiety? Social media, contact with certain people. Then you need to limit your contact with that, with those people or those situations for anxiety extinguishers. What are the things that decrease your anxiety? Is it dancing? Is it listening to music? We talked before about what are the free ways that you can help yourself daily. Going outside, getting some vitamin D, natural mood elevator, moving your body, natural mood elevator free. What are the things that you can intentionally do every day? Don't say you're too busy. You're not too busy to go outside, right? You're not too busy to just move your body a little bit. What are the intentional things you can do? And it's so important for us to get that toxicity out of our system. That's why movement, exercise is so important. And I was telling you before that I'm going to have a free webinar, Afro Flow Yoga class for Black women coming up for February 17th at 7 p.m. Eastern. So that information, I'll give you that information so that Black women can sign up for that because we have to get that. We have to release that toxicity out of our body so we can call in what we need for ourselves and stay grounded. Let us not go off on these wild roller coasters that they putting us on. We didn't sign up for the roller coaster, but we need to figure out how to fasten our seatbelts so the anxiety doesn't run away and then we feel we have no control. So focus every day on what is something that you're controlling that you can't control in your life.
And well, one thing I want to talk about is for those of you who are in hostile toxic jobs and a hostile toxic work environment, hostile work environment is an environment where there is abuse on
Yeah.
a significant scale, where people being subjected to harmful abusive treatment in the workplace, and it becomes illegal if that behavior is targeted based on a protected characteristic. But the reality is that there are a lot of people who are functioning in hostile toxic jobs that are not necessarily illegal, that they are
Mhm.
working with managers or co-workers who engage in behavior that is abusive to everyone and
Yeah.
toxic and create work environments that are not necessarily discriminatory, but are still harmful. And so I think that there are things that we need to be very, first of all, acknowledging and recognizing what kind of work environment you're in is very
Yeah.
important, right? And then also really being intentional about how much of that stuff you allow into other parts of your life. And this is some of the things we talked about in the course was how do
Mhm.
you recognize the difference between those two things? And then what are the things you do to mitigate them? And you talked about some of those things there. But I
Mhm.
think it's really important for people to recognize when they are in a hostile, toxic work environment, first
Mhm.
of all, and then have plans for how you're going to deal with this, especially in this, this regime change that's going to invite more of that in the
Yeah.
workplace, right?
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I've said, and I recently did a video where I talked about what people should do when they're accused of being quiet, is I actually encourage you to be quiet,
Mm.
right? And to limit your interaction with people in your work environment, even though they may try to provoke it, limit your interaction with people that you recognize and identify as being hostile and toxic people in your work
Mhm.
environment. Do
Mhm.
not discuss politics in your work environment. Even when people try to bait you
Thank
into
you.
doing it,
Yep.
don't do it. And you
It's
can
a trap.
intentionally say to them, I don't talk about politics, and exit stage left. If you will
Yes.
excuse me, I'm going to go get some coffee. If you will excuse me, I'm going to go get a glass of water. And you exit from that and
Yep.
document it, right?
Yep.
And document it because if they keep doing it, now it's turning into harassment, right? So
Yes.
so document those things, but be very intentional about coming to work, doing your job to the best of your ability, but minding your business, which is something we talk
Yes.
about all the time on my channel, minding
Yes.
our business, remembering,
Yes.
especially as Black women, that it is not our responsibility to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. It is not our responsibility to worry about. We can be concerned
Mm.
without involving ourselves. We can
Right.
care and empathize and still mind our business, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
people have made choices. People made choices in November,
Yes,
and
they did.
we have to sit and watch some of the choices play out, and it hurts to watch it. And
Yeah.
it's okay to acknowledge that it doesn't make you happy. I don't even live in the States, and I feel sad about what I see happening.
Mhm.
Even though I'm
Mhm.
not surprised by it, I
Mhm.
still feel sad to see how much the country where I was born has degraded and how quickly. And I'm
Mhm.
not even talking about since January 20th. In order
Right.
for us to have gotten to where we are now, there was a degrading, right? Where things were allowed to come to the surface, where things were called
Mhm.
to the surface, right? And people want to be evil and they want to be cruel and they want to be mean, but they don't realize that all of those things are going to come back on them. And now it is.
Right.
And we're all
And
going
it's
to,
not our role to try to save them
and
from
it is
that.
not our job to try to
Yeah.
save
We
them.
have to
And
save
you can feel
ourselves.
that you can feel empathy
Mhm.
because it is important to not lose your empathy. It is okay to acknowledge this is sad and this is
Yeah.
unfortunate and
Yeah.
still mind your business. Drink
Yes.
your coffee and
Yeah.
mind your business and
Yes.
save your energy for when you, in fact, are when it's your turn, because all of
Yes.
us want to get a turn,
It's gonna
even
come back
no matter
around.
where we are in the world, as I
Yes.
said in the last video, we are going to feel the impact of the choices that were made in November.
So
So
true.
we need to have a plan for how we're going to protect our mental health, right?
Mhm.
How we're going to navigate work environments that
Mhm.
are already hostile and toxic, right?
Yeah. And
And
again, like, going back to our master class, how are you going to save yourself? We have to prioritize ourselves as Black women. We've been
yes,
programmed that we center other people, we take care of everybody. We have to shift. We have to focus on ourselves. And the other thing I want to say, Anne Marie, really quickly is when we're in these toxic, hostile work environments and we see things are happening, we see the writing on the wall, Two things. One, don't keep trying to get clarity and try to figure out what's going on and try to have meetings with people. The writing's on the wall, okay? There's no clarity that you're going to get because they're either lying or they're plotting against you. So that's number one. Number two, do not start venting to your coworkers about what's happening at the workplace. That information more than likely is going to be used against you. So be mindful again, boundaries is so important.
And that segues to the third thing that I think we need to do if you're getting ready to start your exit from a toxic job, and that is get an exit plan and stick to
Yes.
it. And if you don't have an exit plan, I beseech you to make one, because for what all is going on right now, even if you're not planning to do something right away, having a plan is very important.
True that.
Having making a decision is the most important thing, that step that we can take in anything relevant in our lives, is the decision that you make first. And
Mm-hmm.
then you start making a plan in furtherance of that decision. So,
Yeah.
for example, someone asked me today, when did I decide, how did I decide when I was going to leave my work environment, right? And I told her the first thing was that I decided I was leaving. Even before I knew how I was going to leave, how I was going to navigate my way out, I decided I was leaving.
Yeah.
And it was almost a year before I actually left that I
Yes.
decided I've had enough of this place and these people
Yes.
leaving. Now let me figure out how I'm gonna do that in a way that's gonna work for me. So I didn't make any
Right.
emotional trigger, go yell and curse anybody out, but I made a decision that I
Yes. You're
was going to
intentional.
leave. And when my opportunity came, I
Yeah.
took advantage of it, but it started with me making a decision. And so once I made the decision, I started taking actions and I made a plan, and I started
Mm-hmm.
taking actions in alignment with the plan, which was triggered by a decision,
Yeah.
right? So the first thing is to make a definitive decision. And you don't
Yeah.
have to tell nobody but yourself
Please don't.
about your decision. Because when I decided, I didn't tell anybody, not even my sister, who I tell almost everything. I didn't say anything for a while. And it was all for me started when the George Floyd thing happened.
Yeah.
And the things that the company that I worked for did in
Mm-hmm.
response to it,
Mm-hmm.
right? That
Mm-hmm.
caused me to say, I'm done with these people.
Yeah.
And so
Well, a lot of the
I
performative
started, right,
DPI and all that.
performative foolishness. And I was
Yeah.
like, and their desire to make me the mascot of it.
Of course.
I was
Yes.
like, absolutely not. And so that's
Uh-huh.
what started for me. But I didn't do anything until later, when someone else did something that opened the door and made it possible for me to take the next steps that I needed. But the reason I was able to take advantage of the situation was because I had already decided.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
had already started remote working from all over Mexico and doing other things in furtherance of the plan that I had. So even though I
Right.
didn't have an actual date till later of when I was going to leave, I
Mm-hmm.
already had a plan because I had already made a decision. And
Yes.
so if you know that you are in a hostile, toxic job, you may not yet know where the money is coming from to
Mm-hmm.
fund the thing that you might want to know. But by making the decision that you are going to leave, will position you to take advantage of any misstep your employer makes, any stupid thing that your colleague says, right? Because you will now have a plan. And once you have a plan, or not a plan, but a decision,
Decision.
you
Yeah.
can then execute a plan. And one of the things that, we talk about in the master course is exactly how to create the plan, right?
Yes.
And how to go about actually mapping a strategy and a plan to
Yeah.
leverage the stupidity that a lot of the employers are going to engage in, because they feel empowered. Some
Yeah.
think they know civil rights law. Some of them think the president overturned the civil rights laws on January 20th because they don't know nothing about how laws work, right? And so we have to sit tight, make a
Yeah.
decision, but then
Yeah.
wait for the opportunity. And you start
Yeah.
that by executing and creating a plan once you've made a decision. And so,
Yeah.
like I said, you don't have to ask anybody permission. You
No.
don't have to even tell anybody what you've decided. The best thing a lot of times is to say nothing.
True. Walk in silence like Harriet did.
And
Walk
even
in
at work,
silence.
people
Yeah.
can
Oh, definitely
say
not at
things,
work.
people can say and do things to you at work, and you don't have to say nothing.
Yep.
You know they wrong, they know they wrong too. That's the way I
Right.
always look at
Like
it.
you said,
And so
document, document,
I
document.
don't need to tell you, but I'm gonna go to my office and write that shit down. I'm gonna write it down. But I
Yes.
don't have to tell you anything because my
Right.
assumption is if I know you wrong, you know you wrong too. And if you don't know, you'll find out later, but it ain't my job to tell you.
Exactly. Like we always say, play the game. So that's part of playing the game, right? Game face on. Okay, I got you. I got you. Go in there and document. Keep making your plan. Walk in silence. And like you said, also be mindful of who else you tell outside of the workplace.
Mhm.
Family, friends. If you know that they are going to try to convince you to stay in an environment that's harming you limit what information you share with them. Don't do that. You need to go to people who can understand what you're going through and can help you. So I want to talk a little bit about the mental health implications, though, making the plan. So when you decide, or when you're even thinking about, I hate this job's not working for me, there is a lot of fear that comes up about leaving that job. So the fear, again, can keep you there, right? Oh my God, I'm not going to find another way to make money. I'm going to be end up homeless. What am I going to do about my health insurance? All these fears come up, right? And so when we have the fear, we have to say, you know what? I recognize the fear is there. I need some help with working through this fear. I need some help. Many times therapy is very helpful for that because when you think about leaving a toxic job, it brings up the fear. It might bring up other traumas you've had in your life. It might bring up all these unrealistic thoughts you have. So therapy can help you address that. So you have somebody who can walk with you through the fear, right? As you're in a hostile, toxic work environment, you're experiencing so much gaslighting and so much other stuff. You need an objective person who can say, girl, that's this, right? They can call it out. They can reality test with you. So therapy, number one. Number two, you might need coaching to walk you through what do I do? How do I get out of here? I know I want to get out, but I don't know what to do. A coach can help you say, okay, this is where you want to go. These are the steps, and I will hold you accountable. So there's a lot involved in the decision making. So once you make that decision, you process all the emotional stuff that goes into being in that job because some Black women, not well, some people, but I'm talking about Black women, our identity becomes fused with the job title. And so they cannot envision their life without the job. And so, again, therapy can help you with that. It can help you with the grief process of leaving the job. There's so much involved with leaving a job. And so, I really want us to give ourselves permission to seek therapy and to talk about this with our therapist honestly so you can work through the fear. The fear is normal. Don't feel like I feel the fear, I got to stay. The fear is normal, but also it's giving you information of I need some support as I go through this process.
That's a really great point. And one of the things we talk about in the course is how to strategically use a therapist and a coach to help you realize your exit, right?
Yeah,
So that's what like specific steps and things that you can do that
yeah,
will help use those relationships to help you leverage the exit that works for you. So
yeah,
I highly recommend that. I always tell people if you have a job that allows you professional development, that will allow you to get a coach and
yes,
get a Black woman. If you don't know how to find one, book a discovery call with me. I'll tell you, right? I'll send you some referrals, right? But it is imperative that you get a coach, but you want to get a coach that's going to be working in furtherance of your goals and who
yes,
understands who you are as a human being. And so, for me personally, having a Black woman as my coach was the game changer
true. Me
moving
too.
forward with what I wanted to do. So
Me
I
too.
highly, highly, highly recommend it as a part of your plan for
Yep,
having an exit. And like I said, if you don't have a plan, if you think everything is okay with your job right now, I still recommend that you get a plan because number four is be prepared. Even
yeah,
if you are not yet in a hostile, toxic job, it is very likely that you could be very
yeah,
soon. So
yes,
stay ready so you don't have to get ready, which is the motto
true,
of my life, right? I
true,
had an
true.
ex-boyfriend that said that to me when I was in my 20s, and I've never forgotten it. And as I got older, it became more and more pertinent, right? Stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
That's
And
true.
so I'm telling people, because I'm having these calls with people every day, and the tide has, what is happening at the federal level will trickle down to the private
Yeah,
sector if it has not
yeah,
already. And so even environments that are healthy right now may change very quickly because
yeah,
people now feel that they don't have to care about diversity. They don't have to care about being equitable.
Yeah.
right? They don't have to care about being inclusive. We have
Yeah.
decided that these are bad words, that we shouldn't care about equality and being inclusive. These are bad things now in America, right? Not realizing that it benefits everyone and actually has
Right.
benefited them more than it has benefited us. And
True.
so in work environments where, people have been paying platitudes, even especially the nonprofit sector, which I know
Mhm.
about a lot, and I'm getting lots of calls
Uh-huh.
from people in the nonprofit sector. All these progressive people who like to think that they're progressive and good. You'll be surprised how quickly they will fully embrace these white
Their
supremacists.
true colors. Their true colors come out.
Oh, yes. So even if you are in an environment that you think is, quote, safe, unquote, right now is the time to create an exit strategy, to know
Yes.
what you will do if
Yes.
things go sideways, to know what you
Yes.
will do if things go awry,
Yes.
right? And on a
Yes.
personal level, and this has nothing to do with, work, if you don't have a passport, my dear Black people, please, please go get one.
Yeah.
This regime is actively dismantling the government, and
Mhm.
things will stop working. And
Mhm.
that's the intention,
Yep.
right? Please, for the love of God, if you don't have a passport, get one. Y'all know I stay on a plane, so keep me in prayer. I stay going somewhere and will
Yeah.
continue to do so.
Yeah.
And I didn't need a new passport till the year 2024, but I went and got me a new one, okay? Before the
Yeah.
regime changed.
Yeah.
I went and got my passport renewed. I got the big book with the passport card, okay? And so if you have the wherewithal to get the big book, get the big book. If you can't get the little book, if you don't have a passport, get one. If your passport is near renewal, it's a year out, I say go get it now.
Yeah.
Right? Go get it now. Now is the time to stay ready so you don't have to what? Get
You're ready.
ready.
And
If
if
you
you
have
have
global
children, make sure
entry,
they got passports too.
and if you well, that goes without saying. If you have kids, make sure your kids have passports. Get global entry if you can afford it. Everybody got to do what they can afford, but at a minimum, get a passport. You
Yes.
do not have one. If you have one, get it renewed.
Yes.
We don't know how long this is going to last. I still think it's very cute that people keep talking about what's going in 2 years and in 4 years. I think it's very optimistic for people who believe that all of this is going to be over in four. I don't have that type of level of optimism.
Yeah.
But what I am saying to people is have your passport, apply now before all the backlogs start in the spring.
Mm.
Apply now. I got my passport in 4 weeks. They said 8, but that was under President Joe Biden. So I don't know what's happening right now. But I would say now is the time to get your
Yeah.
application in, right? Now is the time. We're talking about getting ready and staying ready.
Yeah.
So I am saying to you all, I'm not implying nothing. I'm just saying, get you a passport if you don't have one.
Yeah.
Get
So
a
true.
passport. You go down to the post office right now. I don't know how long that's going to be. So you could go to the post office right now if memory serves and go and get that done. So go and get it done. Do not
Mhm.
wait. Do not
Mhm.
delay. Go and
Mhm.
get it done. Now is
Yeah.
the time. Get the big book. Don't forget that
Yes.
I said that. If you can, get the big book with the extra pages. All right. That does cost extra money, but I'm just saying, if you can get it, get it. Um, and it's very important. And that's why I'm throwing that in there as a part of being prepared. And then the last thing is self-preservation um, is an act of resistance, being very intentional about your self preservation, about your health, about staying well. I think that part of what this administration is doing is
Mhm.
literally intended to keep people fearful, to have people hunker down, to divide people further.
Absolutely.
And so intentionally doing things that seek joy is an
Yeah.
act of resistance, in my opinion.
Yes.
Take
Yes.
a vacation, go for a walk every day, walk
Mhm.
your dog, start a garden, do things that make you happy just because,
Mhm.
right? I think that's super important. And as a mental health professional, I'm really interested in what your thoughts about that. But I think personally, for me, self-preservation right now, especially,
Mhm.
requires that I take a vacation every 3 months.
I hear
So
you.
I'm getting ready to go and I don't even live over there. So for people who live there, I don't even know how you not, you know, Give
Yeah.
yourself permission to go do things that make you happy because they
Yeah.
want you to hunker down and they want you to hoard every dime and they actually want I mean I personally believe I could be wrong
Mhm.
that they want to crash the economy. And so if they
Mhm.
can scare people and get people to not spend any money and just everybody retreats, and that gets them to where they need to be faster. That's just
Right.
my theory. I could be wrong, but you know, I have an imagine. I always say, I do not suffer from a failure of imagination, and I am a student of history. So those two things combined will allow you to kind of understand some of what is happening, right?
Right.
So I think that deciding to go out and enjoy your life is an
Mhm.
act of resistance at this point.
Yeah.
And to
Yeah.
not just sit and be on your phone reading the next horrible thing, and then it's like you sit in your house and you're almost catatonic,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
I know that that's happening to people. People are
Yeah.
feeling anxiety, and we ain't even a good 4 weeks into this
Ooh,
thing, right? So
right.
I'm like,
And we're already exhausted.
you have to make decisions,
Right.
do all the things we've already mentioned, but also to intentionally pursue joy.
Yes, yes, yes. So first, I think it's important for us to recognize, and I always think about Audre Lorde about, our self-care is self-preservation. That's the act of political warfare. So for us to be well, despite everything that's going on, to be well, to preserve our joy, our dreams, our growth, all these things, that's the act of political warfare. So for me, I'm like, oh, I'm fighting you. Like, you're not going to take away my wellness out of all this. So we have to be mindful of that. Okay. So we have to center that. And I hear Black women say, I don't have time to do fun stuff because I'm busy. I got things to do. You have to, this
Make
is
the time.
serious. You have to make time because when you're experiencing constant stress, that cortisol is running through your body and that can contribute to weathering, where your organs are aging at a faster rate. We have seen Black women dying at an earlier age. So we have to be very intentional about our wellness. My hope is that when we recognize our self-preservation, there are things we can do daily about preserving our mental health. Prayer, singing, dancing, whatever it is, going outside, gardening. I love to garden. Whatever it is that you can connect to your joy, you have to guard that. You have to do that. And if we don't, again, they win. They win. And we're not going to let them win. My hope is that as a people, that we experience post-traumatic growth as a result of what's happened. This is traumatic, but we will rise up. We will rise up, but we have to do things actively. We have to be actively committed to doing things for our own well-being. And like I said before, I have the Afroflow Yoga free class for Black women, which I'll be sharing information with Anne Marie about. So you can sign up for that. It's free, free, free. Also, I am also a coach to help Black women to leave toxic jobs. So with that exit plan and also dealing with all the psychological stuff that comes along with leaving a toxic job. So you can work with me if you would like to talk about that and you need coaching for that.
And I will be putting Kamani's links in the description of this video. I will also, again, remind you guys that you can access the master course. It's called Save Yourself that she and I did together. It is on sale this month for Black History Month. Um, and you can get a discount code, which I shared earlier in the community, and I will be sharing throughout the month and sharing to my subscribers as well. My subscribers will also receive a special discount on the course. And so it's really important, I think, to be very intentional about doing things just because they make you happy right now, right? And
And we
making
deserve it.
you have to. I mean, I started working out again, and I do it as, a type of health preservation and mental health preservation. Because
Yes.
I have some of the best thinking times for myself because I walk to the gym, about a 30-minute walk each day, both ways. I walk for an hour each day just to go to the gym. And I spend time just thinking about things that have nothing to do with work or anything while I am walking and then working out and then walking back. And it's really something I almost look forward to. I don't look forward to the gym part, but I do enjoy the walk.
Okay.
I still don't enjoy the gym, but I'm doing
Yeah.
it because it's necessary for my health. But
Yes.
also I've started, growing things again. I don't have time to do a full grown garden because travel, but I have some plants. Where I live, succulents grow everywhere. I created
Yeah.
like a plantscape the other day with just succulents, just because I saw one
Yeah.
in a store and I was like, huh, I think I could do that. And so
Yeah.
I started, even like cutting stuff while I'm walking. I like pull stuff out of the ground. If I see it, I'm like, this is public property. I can have this. And so I created a plantscape off of things that I either bought in little nursery or just found on the side of the road because they grow
Yeah.
everywhere
Yeah.
where I live because I'm in a dry climate. So, and it was just because it makes me happy every morning now when I walk past to go to my kitchen, I see that plantscape on the table.
Yeah,
And
it's a
it makes
reminder
me,
of growth. It's a
yeah.
reminder that we will grow and we will persevere. And for me, like planting things, it has a symbolic healing for me. It reminds me of our generational healing. Our ancestors had the land, but they didn't own it. They had to work the land. They couldn't eat off the land. They had to, take the scraps of everything. So for me, it's a form of generational healing. And so we have to think about what are the ways that we're healing not only ourselves, but our past generations and our future generations, because we got to be well to support the future generations too.
So it's very important to engage in self-preservation. So those are the five things, and I'm just going to go over them again. Number one is be informed, but not overly consumed by what is going on, i.e., limit your time on social media.
Mhm.
Two is guard your mental health. Be very
Yeah.
intentional about guarding your mental health. Number three is if you have an exit plan, stick to it. And if you don't have an exit plan from leaving a hostile, toxic work environment, make one.
Yeah.
And make sure part of that plan is a mental health plan and a practical exit plan. Okay. Remember that the Save Yourself Mastercourse is available for you to learn everything you need to learn about navigating a hostile toxic work environment and exiting a hostile toxic work environment, especially if it is an illegal hostile toxic work environment. Number four is be prepared. Even if you're not in a hostile toxic job right now, there is a high likelihood that you could be in one very soon. So stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yes.
And number five is self preservation. Self preservation, especially right now, is an act of resistance. Make sure that you keep yourself well, do things that make you happy, pursue joy, take vacations, do things that you love. If it's gardening, if it's exercising, if it's going to karaoke, which is another thing I love to do, whatever it is that makes you happy, make it your business. Put it on your calendar. One of the best things one of my coaches told me was the importance of putting everything that I was going to do each day on the calendar, even things that are personal things like going to the gym, like because she was like, it makes it more likely that you will do those things. And so
True.
I have found that putting everything that I want to do each day on my calendar, it's not because I need it to remind me, it's because
Mhm.
it makes me more likely to do the things, especially the personal things like going to the
It
gym,
makes you accountable
going to
to
karaoke.
yourself.
Right. And so take the time to make yourself a priority. Don't let what is going on around you rob your joy, steal your joy from you, because that is the intention of this.
Yes.
Chaos is the point.
Yes.
Really, shock and awe is what they said. They literally want to break people down. And
Hmm.
so not allowing this situation to do that to you is actually a triumphant act. It is a
Yes.
act of resistance. So
True.
I really hope that you guys have enjoyed this conversation. I hope that you have learned something from it that you will put into practice because that was the whole point of having this conversation. As I have shared, I am planning some off YouTube conversations, and Dr. Kimani and I are going to be doing a conversation about some other topics relevant to mental health and resilience. And I'll be sharing more about that in a later video and in the community and to my subscribers first. So if you are not subscribed to my website, I highly recommend that you do that. www.theanti-hr-hrlady.com. Kamani, what is your website?
My website is liftingasweclimbconsulting.com.
And Kamani's also on YouTube. So I will be linking her YouTube channel as well as her website and information about her free yoga webinar that you can participate in to this video. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe, and comment, but please do so constructively. Thank you so much for watching. This is Anne Marie. As always, HR is not your enemy, but they are definitely not your friend, but I am. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.